Alright, so now that we have here our menu, next thing we need to do is that when we create the account, it goes to the create account page. So I think what we need to do here is I'm just gonna reorder them. So I'm gonna add the login first, and then we're gonna add this thing called spacer. And then the spacer, I'm gonna add like 10. I'm gonna duplicate, and I'm gonna add another one on the top here. So it's gonna duplicate here. So you got this nice gap. So when we press play, it looks a little bit more decent. And then what you can do, you can add your logo here, you can do whatever you want. So now when I press create an account, so we have to bind the event. Let's just go back here, get a register, right? So it's gonna add this here. We got a playlist that we are disabling. I'm gonna do a bind event on button click. So I'm gonna add here. And this may get a little bit messy, so I'm just gonna give some space here. After all, I'll sort it out. I'm gonna create a custom event called API create account page. I'm just gonna call this page. And then what I'm gonna do is we're gonna get the login screen, and the first thing we're gonna do is set visibility. And the visibility we want to do here is collapsed. Perfect. Now if I go back and test, so you see it disappears. Now we need to create the create account page. I'm just going to duplicate the login screen, and I'm going to put 0, 0, everything to 0, right? Position 0. So I'm going to call this register page, right? I'm gonna hide the other one so we see more or less what we need to do. Everything is anchored right here. Ideally, when you're doing these things, you want to keep the form more or less in the same position as that, because then the player expects more or less where it is. It's just like less hassle. So this is gonna be, actually, here's where I think I need to get. So here we have the dev, or we have here the dev realm. I think it's called quick register, right? So we need email, password, and then the display name. So we need 3 fields. That's fine. So now what we can do is that we have the register page, right? So we go email. I'm just gonna call this register email. Register password, and then I'm gonna call this register username, right? Nice. So we have email, and we're gonna have username, or just the username, and then we have the password. I'm not gonna add a confirm password, to be honest. I'm just gonna leave it the way it is. Now on here we are gonna basically add this is gonna be the register layer, and this is gonna be just called back, and then we're gonna change this to be back, so give the user a little bit of a way to go back, right? So now what happens is that when we press register, right, we need to set visibility to visible. And by default, we need to set our visibility to collapsed of the register page. So let's have a look. So create an account, and then we just need to do the same for back. Now this one is says login. We just need to change that to be, let me just go back here to be called register. Perfect. Compile and save. Now create an account, register. Right, let's wire up the back button. That is super simple. I'm just gonna add more space. I'm gonna add this. Back. Do we have a back? Yes. I'm gonna copy that. It's the same event, so we don't need to worry about that. So that is fine. We add it here. Now the next thing we're gonna do is a custom event called API return login page. And as you guys can see, it's just a bunch of like copy and paste and triggering the events on the right location. And we're gonna do collapsed. Perfect. Now I think we should see a full circle. So create back, create back. You see, everything works fine. Nice, that's good. Now the next thing we need to do is to actually do the logic for registering, right? So that is gonna basically be something like handle the login and register page. This is just so the users, they're aware of it, which is fine. Then the next one we need to do is the actual register logic. So let's just actually do, so we can register the player. Now we're gonna do like a custom event called, actually not custom event, it's just a bind event. I'm gonna add it here. We're gonna plug this one right back. Perfect. Nice. And here it is. So I'm gonna create here a custom event called API try register player. All right. Now what we're gonna do is that we need to get those fields. So we're gonna get that. We're gonna get the register pass and the register name. Perfect. So we need to get all those information fields right here, right? I think we can get text, get label, so get or input. Actually, I don't remember. Is that input? I don't really remember how we done this. Let me just try. It's just called input. Perfect. So we just need to go back here. And we do that. Yeah, input. Perfect. And then we just get text. And then we just need to do for the password. And then we can copy this for the register username here as well. Right? So everything is like fine. So now to test this, before we call the API, let's just test if the register email is working properly. So let's go back. I'm gonna create an account. I'm gonna add there my Gmail, whatever. Press register. I just actually need to. There we go. You see? So it's actually doing properly. So now what we need to do is then we need to validate this a little bit. The first thing I'm gonna actually, yeah, that's fine. So this is exactly what we need. We need to do to string, right? All of them. I'm going to explain why we're doing to string. It's because we need to make sure that the fields are not empty, right? Otherwise it's a problem. Otherwise it's a little bit of a problem. So what we are going to do here is that we're going to do equal. So it's empty. And then I'm going to copy here. And then I'm also going to copy that one here. Perfect. Now, I'm not going to focus too much on making this logic very resilient, but I'm going to just create a very simple validation here. From there, we do need to validate for email and all other sorts, but we can add those later on in the game, all right? So I'm going to create here a branch, and if it's empty, one cool thing that we did here is that we have the API validation status, or I think it's called set let's go validation API is valid. Let me just double check. So valid collapsed, but do we have a valid message? We do not have a valid message, but we can create one. So I'm going to do is duplicate that. I am going to just call this validation message. All right. Now the validation message, by default, the visibility is false. Visibility. it's gonna be collapsed. So I don't want people to be able to see that, right? And then we're gonna create here a custom event called API set validation message. And then what I do, something like that, set text. So I'm gonna pass the text. And one thing that is nice as well, we're gonna add a delay, right? So it's handy. And we add like, let's say 5 seconds. And then we set visibility. So we're gonna set twice. It's gonna add it here. Yeah, so the first time it's gonna be visible. And then the second time we're gonna add it to make it collapsed. So in this way we API set validation message. So in this way we don't have to worry about, let's say, creating like handling this. Like we just need to display a message and the icon. So it's like double things we have to do. But now what we're gonna do is here, right? So we can just call this, we can call that, so is not valid. So look what happened. So press play. Actually I don't need this. Press register. You see there's an error there, but we don't know what is the error. Now we can call API set validation message. Field is required. Right, so we do field is required, and then we do that nice exclamation mark, and you got yourself a very nice field, right? Field is required. Now another thing we need to do is, usually those kind of messages, they are a little bit red, so we're gonna use like a red color just to give a little bit of a sense of like this is important, right, to the player. This is required. So it's a little bit unreadable, the field. So what I like to do is add an outline like 1, and the color is gonna be black. So in this way it gives a little bit more visibility. Now depending on the backend, the background, you may need to change this approach, but for now this is okay. We don't need to worry about that too much. Nice. Now we have this stuff. We can go back to that, so that all plays the same animation. Now let's just go back to the logic and let's implement for the others. So we're gonna create here a branch again. Again, if this is true, we're gonna paste this. This is gonna be the password. I'm gonna hold Control and drag those nodes here. As you can see, I'm just literally reusing everything. And here we're gonna create a new branch. Paste that. And it's gonna align all this stuff together. Copy the register, hold, and do that. Perfect. Nice. Now we can in the future improve this. This is not very efficient, but it is a way of handling, right? Okay. Now, so you're probably asking about how do we register the user, right? Now, very simple. All we have to do is call the quick register. And this is where this package like shines. It's very easy to work with. So I'm gonna copy all those fields here, paste it. And I'm gonna add everything in order, right? And I'm gonna bring here. And we just need to do email, the password, and display name. Now we need to handle though if in case we have duplicates and all that stuff, but we're gonna handle this right in a second. So the way this works is that it's gonna send the registration to here, and then you're gonna be able to see on a project against players. I don't have any players right now, but we can actually send them here. So I can just do a custom event called API on register, right? And now I can just break this, right? And I can see what is gonna actually happen. Now, a good way of handling this as well is, I am just gonna hide this button. On here, I am gonna make sure actually these things go a little bit like here, right? And I'm gonna just open up this text, I'm gonna copy this one. I'm just gonna literally add a very simple like message saying, I'm gonna align this on the center, and we're gonna add this one right here. So it's gonna basically be like a green or a red. I'm not entirely sure actually the color of the message, but this is gonna be a feedback message. Feedback message. It's very important to give feedback to the user, otherwise he will be clicking multiple times and you kind of don't want to do that. There's another thing we have to do here as well, but let's just actually let's do it right now. So when you click, okay guys, when you click on that button here, make sure you disable the button for a couple of seconds. So as soon as the player click on the button, right, so as soon as this is true, we are gonna do something like, let me just copy this. This is like a web technique that we usually do on websites, that you try to kind of not, just to avoid the user sending the buttons again. So what we're gonna do is, so that will be trigger. So this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen. I am gonna basically just create here a custom event called API hide btn or hide register btn, and I'm gonna set visibility, and this is gonna be to collapsed, and then we're gonna add a delay, let's say 2 seconds, right? And then we're gonna add to visible again, just to avoid so the player click like on this thing like 3 times, you know. It's just so avoid sending multiple requests, right? Perfect. And we add this one right here. Perfect. Nice. Now we're gonna compile and save, and we got all that stuff up and running. Now let's just do a print back here. Let's get our success message. So I'm gonna add this color like yellow and press play, and let's see. So create an account. So I'm just gonna paste that email that we're using. Where's the email? Here. I'm gonna add ASD-test, and I'm gonna add like a password. So I'm gonna add like, let's say test123, and I'm gonna press register. And true. Okay, so he sent a request. That's perfect. Now let's just go back here and let's see what happened on this page. As you guys can see, we managed to create a user successfully. Now the thing is that what we can do to improve this even better is basically we just pass the visibility here, right? I'm gonna show you like a trick. So when we send this, we set to collapsed, and when it's successful, we send this back to visible. All right, so you only send that back to visible if it's visible or not. Now I'm gonna copy this, I'm gonna add it here, right? And then we're gonna add, let's say, the error code, the error message. We're gonna add error code right here, and let's see what is going to happen. So if I kind of forgot the user, so that's the user email, right? Yeah. So ADS test, and let's just use like a simple test password, and let's press register and see what happens. So now it should say email-exists. As you can see that, email-exists. So we need to handle that error right here, okay? So that's very simple to do. Basically, we're just gonna create a branch that on the case of success, we just enable. If it's not success, we need to handle this email, this one, and it's called email-exists, right? And then we're just gonna do like that, print, right? Compile and save. And then in this example, let's just go back here, copy the user, and we're gonna add here ASD-test and register. So that should be true. Now when it's true, we need to handle that message, and that's what we're going to be doing on the next one.